The story you're about to hear doesn't begin with a hunter or a farmer or even a government agency. It begins with a mistake, a small one, barely noticed at the time, made more than 5 centuries ago by men who had absolutely no idea what they were unleashing. But before we dive in, hit subscribe. You won't want to miss the stories coming next. Picture the year 1492. Columbus's ships cut through the Atlantic, loaded with supplies meant to keep a crew alive during a voyage that was more guesswork than science. Barrels of water, crates of tools, dried meat, and tucked in a simple wooden pen along the deck, a small group of pigs, 8 of them. To Columbus, they were a practical choice, an onboard food source, hardy animals that could survive almost anything. No one on that ship could have imagined that those ordinary pigs would become the ancestors of one of the most destructive invasive species in America's history. But the real twist in this story? Columbus wasn't the last to bring them. Decades passed. New explorers arrived. European settlers came. Cargo ships crossed the Atlantic from Russia, from Spain, from Germany. And with them came more pigs, tougher, larger, and wilder than the ones before. Some escaped during the storms. Others wandered freely on early farms. A few were released intentionally for hunting. And slowly, quietly, without anyone realizing what was happening, pigs began turning into something else. They became feral, wild, adapted to forests, swamps, mountains, and prairies. They learned to survive on almost anything: roots, insects, crops, turtles, even small deer. Generation after generation, they grew stronger, faster, more cunning. And by the time the United States became a nation, wild pigs were already spreading across its forests like a shadow no one could stop. Fast forward to today. If you hike across a pasture in Texas, or wander through the swamps of Florida, or even stroll along farmlands in Oklahoma, you might see a patch of earth that looks as if it's been ripped apart by a plow. Except no plow did that. It was a feral hog, one of millions. As of 2024, more than 6 million wild hogs roam across 39 states, a moving army that grows every single night. And Texas, with nearly 2 million hogs, stands at the center of the storm. But what makes this invasion so frightening is not the number. It's how they spread. A single sow can give birth twice a year. Each time she brings 4, 8, sometimes 12 piglets into the world. They grow fast, learn fast, and spread fast. So even if hunters kill thousands, tens of thousands more replace them. Farmers say it feels like watching the land lose a battle it never agreed to fight. Night after night, wild hogs slip under fences and tear into fields. Cornfields disappear beneath churning soil. Pastureland is shredded into bits. Irrigation lines snap under their weight. In a single night, a group of hogs can rack up tens of thousands of dollars in damage, not over months, not over weeks, but between sunset and sunrise. In June of 2022, 6 hogs, each weighing over 200 pounds, destroyed half an acre of produce on a Texas farm. 2,000 pounds of food gone before the farmer even woke up. But the destruction doesn't stop there. These animals challenge wildlife too. Deer, turkeys, small mammals. Hogs compete with all of them for every calorie. And because they're omnivores, they don't stop at plants. They find nests, they crack eggs, they dig up turtle burrows, they sniff out and devour the young of threatened species. Even endangered creatures like the gopher tortoise cannot hide from a feral hog's nose. And then there's the danger people don't like to talk about: the diseases. More than 30 pathogens, dozens of parasites, some deadly to livestock, some dangerous to people. It's no wonder farmers in hog country sleep lightly. You never know what's moving just outside the porch light. You might think the U.S. government would have a clear solution, but the story isn't that simple. Every year, more than $30 million is poured into hog control and research. And still, the animals spread. Hunters help, of course. In Texas, you can hunt hogs year-round, no limits, day or night. Use a rifle, a bow, a trap, even a helicopter if you've got the budget. But here's the hard truth: hunting only slows the invasion. It doesn't stop it. Experts say you'd need to eliminate at least 70% of the population every year just to keep numbers from increasing. Most years, hunters and trappers barely reach 30%, and the hogs are learning. They recognize traps. They avoid lights. They memorize routines. Some farmers swear the hogs can smell metal. Others say they can count. But one thing is certain, they don't make the same mistake twice. Scientists have explored poisons too, like sodium nitrite, a compound that triggers a painless collapse in hogs within hours. But designing bait stations that keep other animals safe is a challenge that has slowed progress for years. So the war continues, a tug of war between people trying to protect their land and animals that seem almost engineered to survive. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park offers a chilling lesson. For decades, wildlife officers there have battled feral hogs with traps, sharpshooters, and round-the-clock monitoring. They've removed more than 15,000 wild boars from the park, yet the population barely shrinks. Why? Because the mountains are vast, the forests are thick, and hogs are born survivors. It's the same story in Florida, in California, in Oklahoma. In some places, officials no longer even use the word eradication. They've replaced it with a softer, quieter phrase: damage management, not winning, just trying not to lose too badly. In a twist that feels almost ironic, parts of Texas have found a way to turn invaders into food. Broken Arrow Ranch partners with licensed trappers who capture wild hogs alive and truck them to special USDA-approved facilities. There, the hogs are processed and sold as a specialty meat. It's a clever solution, but it comes with challenges. Older boars often smell terrible. Many carry diseases, and only about 15 facilities in the entire country are approved to handle wild hog meat. But perhaps the most alarming biological advantage is how fast they reproduce. A sow barely a year old can already be pregnant, and a pregnant hog is like a mobile reproductive factory, protected by the group, fed by the land, and shielded by the forests. It's as if nature designed them to multiply when pressured. And in ecosystems with few predators, pressure is exactly what they don't feel. Coyotes won't challenge large adults. Wolves and mountain lions are too rare. Bears avoid them. Even alligators only take the young. Every natural threat that should keep their population balanced doesn't. And so they grow and spread and claim territory acre by acre, night by night. When early settlers looked across the American frontier, they saw wild forests and untamed rivers. But today's America is a buffet. Miles of corn, fields of peanuts and soybeans, irrigation canals filled with fresh water, pastureland rich with roots, grubs, and easy shelter. To a feral hog, modern agriculture is paradise. A single cornfield can feed dozens for weeks. A soybean field offers shelter tall enough to hide in. Water troughs give them hydration year-round, and hay bales become nesting material for new litters. Farmers unintentionally built a world where hogs thrive. One rancher in Oklahoma once said, "Every time I plant something, I feel like I'm ringing a dinner bell." And he's not wrong. Imagine a predator traveling at 25 miles per hour, capable of smelling underground seeds, able to dig with the force of a small tractor, and smart enough to avoid traps. Now imagine hundreds of thousands of them, all moving at once. That is the reality of American farming today. But what makes this landscape even more vulnerable is the interconnected web of rivers and forests. Hogs use waterways like highways. Wetlands give them cover. Forests give them shade. Marshes allow them to disappear. And slowly, these invaders begin spreading into suburbs, golf courses, public parks, school grounds, even backyards. It's no longer a rural problem. It's an American problem. Across the ocean, another country fights a different invader, one that started with a mistake just as small, just as innocent, and just as devastating. Australia. In the 1800s, a British settler named Thomas Austin released just 24 rabbits onto his property. He believed they would make good sport for weekend hunts. He had no idea that within 3 years, those rabbits would number in the thousands. No idea that within 50, they would overwhelm an entire continent. No idea that generations later, scientists would still be battling an invasion his small decision had unleashed. Viruses were released, warrens were burned, predators were introduced, poisons were tested, and still the rabbit spread, adapting, surviving, multiplying faster than nature could push them back, just like the feral hogs in America. And so the two stories, one in the deep green forests of Texas, one in the sun-baked plains of Australia, echo each other. Different animals, different continents, but the same haunting truth. Sometimes the greatest ecological disasters don't come from storms or fires or earthquakes, but from the smallest decisions made by people who had no idea what the consequences would be. As the hog crisis grew, the war against them evolved. What started with iron traps and hunters and pickup trucks has transformed into something far more sophisticated. Helicopter crews sweep across ranch lands with night vision scopes. Drones map hog movements across thousands of acres. Acoustic sensors detect grunts and rooting. Cellular towers send live video from smart traps straight to ranchers' phones. The battlefield never sleeps anymore. In Mississippi, researchers have developed traps that only drop their gates when the camera confirms the entire sounder is inside, preventing a few escapes from learning the trap's danger. In Texas, military-grade thermal imaging lets hunters spot hogs 300 yards away in pitch darkness, their heat signatures glowing like white ghosts on a black screen. Some ranchers even use artificial intelligence programs that study hog behavior and predict where they will appear next, turning hog control into a data-driven pursuit. Yet for every advancement, the hogs adapt in return. A helicopter passes over once, and hogs avoid open fields for weeks. A new trap appears, and they approach cautiously for days before daring to enter. Lights, vehicles, engines, even the sound of metallic clicking. Hogs learn them all. It's no longer a simple matter of hunting. It's a technological arms race, and the enemy isn't human. But it might as well be. Ask any wildlife biologist what the future looks like, and most will give you the same quiet, unsettling answer. We will never eradicate them. It's not defeatism, it's math. 6 million hogs, 50 states connected by forest, water, and farmland. Reproduction rates that outpace control efforts. Intelligence that counters human strategies. Even in places where hog populations seem under control, all it takes is one pregnant female slipping through a fence, crossing a creek, or riding in the back of a livestock trailer by accident, and the cycle begins again. Some states are preparing for the shift. Florida has accepted that the goal is no longer elimination, but management. California reports hog numbers expanding northward each year. As climate warms, northern states that once froze out hog populations are becoming more suitable for them. Climate change is handing the hogs new territory, longer warm seasons, fewer frost cycles, more rainfall, longer crop growing periods. Every shift in the environment benefits them more than it benefits us. And so the future may not be a story of victory. It may be a story of resilience. Not there. When people hear about invasive species, they often imagine something slow or harmless. Plants that spread, fish that migrate, birds that escape. But the two greatest invasive species disasters in modern history, America's feral hogs and Australia's wild rabbits, didn't begin as catastrophes. They began as tiny, almost laughably small decisions. 8 pigs on a ship, 24 rabbits on a farm. But nature doesn't care about intention. It responds to opportunity. In Australia, generations of scientists fought the rabbit invasion with viruses, fences, toxins, and traps. For a while, they won. Rabbit numbers collapsed. The landscape breathed again. But then the animals evolved resistance. They adapted. They survived. Today, millions still race across the continent at night, stripping field bare and challenging everything Australia throws at them. Just like the hogs in America. Different species, different landscapes, same pattern. Human action, environmental opportunity, population explosion, ecological collapse, endless battle. And what makes these stories so haunting is that we can trace them back to a single moment, a decision so small its impact was invisible, until it wasn't. Because here's the truth, invasive species don't destroy ecosystems overnight. They do it silently, gradually, generation after generation, until finally someone looks at a ravaged field or a collapsed burrow or a shredded forest floor and asks, how did it ever get this bad? If there's one lesson to take from the rise of feral hogs in America and rabbits in Australia, it's this. Nature remembers every mistake humans make, and it never forgets to collect the debt. Maybe the real threat isn't the hogs, maybe it isn't the rabbits. Maybe the real danger is how easily a single choice, a small introduction, a tiny oversight, can reshape an entire continent. And if history teaches us anything, it's that invasive species rarely stop with one ecosystem. They travel, they adapt, they conquer. The next invader could already be here, hidden in a cargo hold, swimming in a ballast tank, clinging to a shipping container, sleeping in a pet store window, ready to start the cycle again. But that is a story for another day. If you enjoyed this story, hit like, share, and subscribe. We're just getting started, and the wild is full of secrets waiting to be told.